Welcome back to an introduction to basic concepts of maintenance and reliability. In this lecture, we're going to discuss work identification and work request. Work management starts from identification of work and a formal process of submitting work requests. The basic things to understand in this regard include who identifies work, and how is an identified piece of work formally communicated. Work is predominantly identified by the operations team because they are at the front line of operations. Equipment operators are in continuous link with running equipment, and most of the work requests come from the operations team members. Let's take an example of a plant where a pumping system is installed in a process. The pump works 24/7 and operations team works in shifts to keep the plant running. If let's say that the pump develops a leakage, it will be identified by an operator. For example, an operator may find the leakage in a daily inspection activity. Or maybe the operations team members that is seated in the main control room where a central monitoring system, like a SCADA system, is showing parameters of all the pumps running in the plant, may get an alarm of a pressure drop. He may then get the pump checked and find the leakage. Once the leakage is identified, work identification is complete. But the operations team is not going to repair the pump itself. Maintenance team will do it. So, what will be the formal process of communicating the identified work to the maintenance team? This formal way is known as work request. The operations team will have to submit a work request. There is a form that is needed to be filled for submitting a work request. Generally, work request is integrated in the work order form. The work request section of this form requires the requisitioner to fill out some basic information regarding the identified work. In the example that we have taken, the details of pump and its leakage will be filled into this work request section of the work order form, and it will be submitted to the maintenance manager or some equivalent person depending upon the organization. In most of the modern industry, this work order is not submitted in hard paper format anymore. It is digitized. There is Computerized Maintenance Management System, or simply CMMS, where the operations person logs into the computer and electronically submits the work request form. We earlier discussed how operations team predominantly identifies work. However, other departments, including the maintenance team, can also identify work and submit work requests. For example, in many state-of-the-art industries, there is a dedicated predictive maintenance team. This team comprises engineers and technicians who use predictive maintenance techniques to foresee equipment failures. However, they do not do the repairs and rectifications themselves. They only identify work. For example, a predictive maintenance technician may measure the vibrations of a pump. If the vibration readings indicate an impending failure, he will submit a work request form for inspection and replacement of, say, pumps, motors, bearings. From there on, the work request will follow the same route as any other work request. As another example, a preventive maintenance technician may find a problem in the equipment that is not immediately repairable. Under such a case, he will conclude his preventive maintenance activity as usual and highlight the observation by submitting a work request. In this way, the problem that he has observed will be put into the work management process and will later be resolved after proper planning and scheduling. In short, work is identified mostly by the operations team, but that is not a rule. Other stakeholders like predictive and preventive maintenance teams can also submit work requests. Work requests are the very first step in putting an observation inside the formal maintenance work management system. This marks the completion of work identification and work request. In the next lecture, we will look at what happens when a work request is submitted.